going, everybody? It's Brandon. Today we're going to be going over engine startup procedures and taxi procedures, so you guys can get a good feel exactly what I'm looking for and the way I try to do my startup and taxi procedures every time. They cut out as much errors as possible. And today we already did the pre-flight inspection. We got 15 gallons in each tank, so we're almost full. And so we'll go ahead and start with our engine startup procedure. The airframe, like I said, we already did the pre-flight inspection. The airframe is 100% ready to go. Didn't find any problems with it. Check the oil. Oil's full. Gas is over 3/4 of a tank full, so we're good to go there. And so now we're ready to move inside the cockpit. Number one thing that we're always looking to do is pick up the checklist. Always, always, always use a checklist, and then things won't ever go wrong. It's kind of like a waitress taking an order of 15 people at a restaurant and trying to memorize it all versus writing it down. If she writes it down every time, she's going to cut out all the errors because 99% of the time she's going to mess up an order just by trying to be a hot shot and memorize everything. So everybody uses checklists. Doesn't matter if it's if you're in your Piper Cub or if you're an airline captain or if you're flying Thunderbirds or C-130s in the Air Force. Doesn't matter. So always use a checklist. All right. So engine start checklist. Okay. Seatbelts are on. Now seats are set. We got it in the right position. So like it's about right here. And then we have it engaged, so it's not going to roll back. So you always want to make sure it's engaged, because otherwise when you take off and the nose pitches up, the seat's going to roll back, and then you're going to have a tendency just to pull back on the yoke, which is going to pitch up higher. So always make sure your seats are locked and set. So we're good to go there. Okay, we got our master switch on. Our beacon light back on the tail is on. It's rotating so everyone will notify that we're about to start engines and to stay clear. Carburetor heat, it's in the cold position. Fuel selector, we're activated on both tanks. Mixture's full rich. Primer 1 stroke. We'll give it a shot of primer, since it's a little bit cool today. Okay, there's a shot of primer. Throttle open. 1/4 of an inch. Propeller area clear. Alright, don't see anybody. Don't see any little babies running around or dogs. Clear prop. Alright, ignition switch to both. And we'll start. Okay, so we got the engine going. First thing, keep your RPMs below, at or below 1,000 RPM. First thing any pilot's looking for is we're checking oil pressure. Oil pressure's up, that's good. That's the first thing you're always going to check for. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and lean the mixture. We don't want to foul the plugs, have a real rich mixture, and foul the plugs while we're doing all this taxiing around and stuff. Alright, radio's on. We're going to activate our radios. We got some people, some traffic coming in and departing. Alright, radio's on. Transponder will be set to standby. We'll go ahead and turn to standby. Let those tubes in the transponder start warming up. That way when we're ready to depart, the unit's going to be hot and it's going to be activating and showing up on radar real well. Alright, let's check the weather. Now some airports don't have AWOS station or weather station. And so what you do is, like today I'm looking straight at the windsock. I can see vertically what the cloud layers are doing. And we got a cloud layer like 20,000 feet. And then look at the windsock, seeing the velocity and direction of the wind. And so we'll go ahead and tune in our weather.
Gainesville Municipal Airport. Automated weather observation. 1754 Zulu weather. Wind 110 at 5. Visibility 10. Clear below 12,000. Temperature 12 Celsius. Dew point 0. Altimeter 3032.
Okay, so we got the weather, so it's clear below 12,000 feet. The wind direction's out of the kind of southeast 110. And we got our altimeter setting. So then we're going to go ahead and we're going to do our flight, set our flight instruments. You want to start kind of like reading a book at the left to right, top to bottom. So look at airspeed indicator, it's reading 0. My directional gyro, I'm going to set it to my magnetic compass, which is reading east. Alright, so we got that set. Attitude indicators is up and erect. My altimeter, going to set it to airport elevation, 845 feet. Turn bank is reading good, VSI is reading 0. And that's all that. Okay, lights is required, so we got our beacon light on. That's all we're going to need. Alright, now we're going to do a brake test. So what you want to do is, all you want to do is turn your RPM up to about 1200 RPM, release the brakes, taxi forward about 4 or 5 feet, and then brake with both pedals. And that way, to verify that both brakes are working, nothing's mushy, and those are good to go. So the brakes look good. Okay, now we're ready to taxi. Now we got all this set up, and there's nothing else to do in preparation for taxi. So what you want to do is, I like to go ahead and make a radio call. That way, if anybody's entering the pattern, doing pattern work and stuff, they know that I'm going to be taxiing in the runway. So here in about 10 minutes or 5 to 10 minutes, I'm going to be doing the takeoff, just to give them kind of heads up. So I'm going to make my radio call. Gainesville traffic, Cessna 10 uniform. We're at the pumps, taxiing 2 and holding short, runway 17, Gainesville. Okay, so here we go. Now whenever we taxi, left pedal will have the airplane turn left, right pedal, rudder pedal will have the airplane turn right. So now I'm going to go ahead and do a slow taxi. Now the FAA and everyone states that, you know, you see some people that are taxiing 40 miles an hour, and then you see other people that are just poking along. What's the right thing to do? The FAA states that to always taxi at a brisk walk, because if you go too fast, you know, things could happen a lot quicker. Maybe coming up on a turn like up here at the taxiway in Gainesville, and you might run into some problems. If you're just going nice and slow, it may take you a couple more minutes to get there, a couple more extra seconds, but I guarantee nothing's going to happen. You're not going to run into you know, a parked car or something crazy. And then another tip for you guys, I like to go ahead and get all of my instruments set back there when I do the AWOS. That way when I'm taxiing, I got my head up, and it's on a swivel looking for stuff. I don't have it all buried down, tuning radios in, set my DG, whatnot. Whenever you're taxiing, you need to be looking straight out the airplane. Okay guys, another tip is, you can see straight ahead we got our taxiway center line. So what does the center line mean? Well, that whenever we taxi, we want the nose of the airplane to be directly on the center line. Because, okay, if I'm over here, if I'm taxiing and I'm running the airplane off into the grass, I have a tendency, my left wing's going to be sticking way out over past the taxiway. And what if there was a fence or a car or whatnot, another airplane parked over there, I have a tendency to hit something. And the same thing is, if I go over here to the right, I have a tendency I could strike something with the wingtip. So whenever you taxi, always taxi, and keep the airplane nose wheel or tail wheel centered on the center line. And you guys can see my taxi speed. The best way to really judge your speed, it's kind of hard judging it, you know, looking straight up or straight forward. You want to look over to the side and see how fast the ground, see how fast the ground's passing beside you.
Gainesville traffic, 540 Papa Sierra, taking active runway 17. We'll be climbing to 3,500 feet, heading south by southeast. Gainesville traffic.
Okay, another thing, it's going to be the first flight of the day. You can see this taxiway that turns over here that goes ahead and goes to the active runway. We're going to pass that up. You always want to go ahead and taxi down to the very end of the runway. That way, we're using all available runway. That way, if the engine starts acting up, you know, before we go airborne or shortly after we go airborne, we still have plenty of runway left to maybe get the airplane back down on the ground. Versus if you take off on a 6,000 foot runway and you only use 1,000 feet of it, if you have an engine failure, you're going to go off on the end of the past the end of the runway into some trees and stuff. So you cut your risk down a lot. Okay, everybody, now we're getting up to the run-up area. So what you always want to do is you want to go ahead and taxi on down to the end of the run-up area and then swing the nose in towards the wind. That way you get maximum cooling into the engine, and then you get the air hitting the prop directly and not from the side. You'll get a lot more accurate of engine readings when we do our engine run-up. Okay, so we got pointed into the wind. I'm going to go ahead and engage the parking brake and get my handy checklist back out. All right, before takeoff, parking brakes on. Cabin doors, we're all latched and good to go. Flight controls pretty incorrect. Now, you see some people, they just kind of wiggle the flight controls back and forth like that. They're like, okay, that's good. The point of a flight control check is to verify that, A, there's not anything sticking, that hanging up that could affect us once we get airborne, and B, to make sure that the flight controls are rigged correctly, in case you're getting in a new airplane, just came out of an annual or whatnot. Okay, so whenever I do a flight control check, I always have my thumbs up, push the yoke forward, go to the left, and you can see up here, wherever my thumbs go, that aileron should be up. So that one's up, now I'm pulling back, that one's down, okay, that's up, that one's down, I'm pushing it forward, and verifying that my elevator in the back is also going, and then I'll move my rudders back and forth, and everything's correct. Okay, elevator trim. We'll trim for takeoff. Trim tab set. Okay, so then we're going to go brake sets. We're going to do our RPM up to 1600. Mixture's rich. Okay, there's 1600. Going to go to the left mag first. Alright, it looks good. Going to go to the right. Right looks good. Okay, now I'm going to engage my carb heat. Look for a drop. Alright, I got a good drop. The suction is good. And then we're going to go back to idle. Ease the power out and go back to idle. Okay, engine instruments, we're check, we're all in the green, oil pressure's good, oil temperature's good, fuel gauges look good. Ammeter, we got a positive charge. Flight instruments, double check those. Reading 0, that's set to a magnetic compass, that's up and erect. Altimeter's 845, alright, everything looks good. Alright, now radio sets, go ahead and set your radios for takeoff. We got our frequency in for Gainesville, so we're good to go. Transponder, now we'll go ahead and set it to altitude. So once we get airborne, it's going to be reporting our position and altitude. Fuel selectors on both, mixture's full rich, windows are closed, and parking brake is off. Okay, now, a lot of people, whenever they taxi up to the runway, they'll wait until they're at the hold short line to do their final check, or they'll wait until they get out on the runway, then they'll be stopped on the runway and being done their takeoff check. So we're going to be doing normal takeoff. Always just hold short in the run-up area. Go ahead and get everything done, because once you get up to the line, it's go time, especially if you're in a busy atmosphere like Addison or Love Field down in Dallas, or even Denton. When they need you to go, they need you to go. They can't have you just taxi out there and then do all your engine stuff up there. Alright, so normal takeoff, wing flaps are up, mixture's full rich, carburetor heat's cold, throttle will be full open, and we'll rotate at 60 miles an hour and climb out at 85. Okay, so the airplane's set, I'm ready to go. Now, what I like to do in an uncontrolled field is I like to go ahead, because I'm kind of limited on my vision. I can see straight out, but I can't see anything above me. So I like to go ahead and just do a quick 360 with the airplane. Get a good look out to see if anything's above me or if any other airplanes are coming in. We just had a Piper Cub that came in and landed, and a lot of those old tail draggers don't have radios. And a lot of people have radios and they don't even just use them, make radio calls. So just do a quick 360 and just get a good look, see if there's anything out that's inbound for landing or any traffic in the pattern. Alright, so we look clear, and we got their engine check ready to go, and our before takeoff checklist completed, so once we get up to the line, we're ready to go.